And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
All right, moving on to Wednesday morning's flying weather here. Band of IFR up along the Arctic coast and marginal VFR here from that area right on down, covering just about all of the Bering Sea here up to the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and a band of IFR out here with the next system pushing northeastward, overspreading Haydak and then Atka by tomorrow morning. Good VFR here in the interior, all the way down to the North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula area into Prince William Sound. Some marginal VFR here over the east side, right on down into the eastern North Gulf Coast from Yakutat into the northern Panhandle. IFR for the central and southern southeast coast. Now for tomorrow, this area pushes northeastward and eastward here, spreading IFR into the western Alaska Peninsula, back to Atka Island and up across the Pribilofs with marginal VFR now halfway between St. Matthew and St. Lawrence Islands, but still west of Nunivak Island. Good VFR in the interior, Kodiak Island, right on up in toward the Brooks Range. North of the mountain zone, marginal VFR becomes IFR along the Arctic coast. And for the southeast coast, from about Yakutat on down toward Dixon Entrance, marginal VFR. And that holds through Thursday morning as well here. Not much change there. Good VFR, Kodiak Island on up into Prince William Sound and all the way up to the Brooks Range here. Still some marginal VFR over along the eastern border there. And now IFR for the eastern Arctic coast. VFR back to the west down to St. Lawrence Island. And this area of IFR slowly pushing east-northeast, as you can see, overspreading St. Matthew Island, about making it to Nikolsky and extending westward to just east of Amchitka Island. Then for the afternoon, IFR makes landfall here along the southwest coast, as well as St. Lawrence Island, down to the Pribilofs, extending back along a frontal boundary there into the west central Aleutians. Marginal VFR up to the Alaska Peninsula. IFR eastern Arctic coast with good VFR again in the interior here, right on down to Kodiak Island, Gulf of Alaska, into the northern Panhandle now, southern 3/4 of the southeast coast, still pretty marginal. For the passes, Brooks Range, occasional marginal VFR, that'd be mostly on the north side here for both Anaktuvik and Adigan, with VFR on down to the south. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR tomorrow. In fact, the entire Alaska range will be VFR, rainy, windy over toward Isabel, looking really good. Nintasta, VFR, and Tanita, also VFR, as well as Portage. Another VFR day there tomorrow. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels here, surface over the northern Panhandle, then about 2,000 to 4,000 feet down toward Dixon Entrance there. Out to the west, 2,000 feet, coming back up to the western Aleutians. And icing here, a big area of considerable moderate rime icing pushing into the Bering Sea with a good southerly push of warm air and a lot of moisture with it, spreading eastward here toward the eastern Aleutians and of course right over Adak and Atka. And that'll be pushing into the Pribilof Islands in the afternoon hours. Icing free, eastern northern Bering Sea in the interior here. And then some areas of isolated moderate rime icing or mixed here over the Panhandle, maybe back toward Yakutat. And from there, looking at the jet stream, this cold upper low tracking east-southeastward here at this elevation of 33,000 feet, roughly centered here over the eastern interior areas. Northwest winds there coming out of the Russian Far East, 70 to 100 knots there as it blows across the Aleutian Range toward Kodiak Island. Coming back around, strong southwest jet in across the southern southeast coast at 140 knots. And then 80 knot southwesterlies here ahead of that next system and the warmer air coming up into the southwest Bering Sea and Aleutians. At 9,000 feet, frontal boundary right through here, so 45 to 50 knot winds along in advance of the front. Behind the system there, 45 knots more out of the west. Northwest winds 45 to 60 knots, strongest across Kodiak Island. And we have low pressure at 9,000 feet here, dropping in toward the eastern North Gulf coast. And again, 60 knot northwest winds, Kodiak, and then the strongest winds here to the south of the Panhandle. And at 3,000 feet, northwesterlies 50 knots here, blowing again Kamishak Bay, northeast Bristol Bay, and across Kodiak, taking a westerly turn and moving into the southern southeast coast at about 40 knots. Higher pressure, lighter winds up here over the northern interior, and then that big storm out here over the Bering Sea and the band of stronger winds associated with that. And for turbulence, considerable moderate turbulence here for all of the Aleutian chain, more or less here. Surface 6,000 feet, light to isolated moderate turbulence up to the Pribilof Islands, and a lot of mechanical turbulence here, some considerably moderate here over about the Alaska Range, south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, Kodiak Island area, and along the lee side of the Aleutian Range there in Kamishak Bay in those areas.